So welcome. Sorry that we're a little bit late. I had some technical issues. We're here with Maggie Chubano, Andy Briarcliffe, and Evelyn Casina. And we're going to talk about empowering mental wellness in the digital age. So I'm really happy. Thank you everyone for being here.
Now, thanks for having us.
Pleasure as always.
So what I'm really happy about, and hopefully Confidence will manage to join us a little bit later, is we have representatives currently that are in 4 different countries, and maybe we'll have 5. So Evelyn is in Kenya, Andy's in the UK, Maggie's in Australia, and I am in Italy. And we all have, we all work with or have worked with kids, right? And in terms of young people, and have some experience with the harms that use of tech has had on mental health. I don't know if each one of you just want to go through. We can start with Maggie and then Andy and Evelyn and talk about, your experience with that, like tech and impacts on mental health. We'll start with the negative impact and then we'll go later to the positive impacts of tech.
Yep. Well, like many parents, most parents actually, I gave a device over to my child when she was 12. I had no idea of what the dangers she was going to face. And at the time, the protection of me being able to still be there for her so that I could guide her, I didn't really know what social media did. And fast forward to a couple of years later, as we were dealing with those issues on many occasions, and the bullying was, like body shaming her and the swearing and the profanity used. But then as we were dealing with it for 3 years onwards, her friend who was bullied wanted to end her life. And that's when I just couldn't sit around and do nothing. And so obviously I created this product to help children stop and think before they're about to send something that could be potentially harmful.
Yeah, I mean, that's Rick Nash, who isn't here. He also, you introduced me to him. He also started a tech solution called Amica for the same reason that a young person in his life tried to take his life. Yeah, it's very tragic, but it's good to take steps against it, right? That's all we can do to help make it better. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, thank you. And firstly, I'll apologize for any background noise. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've seen firsthand, obviously, a lot of the harmful content or potentially harmful content, or harmful but illegal content that's on not just social media. I just want to be clear about that. Across many platforms, I've certainly seen it on fitness apps where people have been stalked and harassed and things like that. And we know young people do things like that as well, and on gaming apps. I mean, I'm going to take it a little bit before we even get to social media, and that's the use of let's say the smartphone generation with young people as well. They are almost addicted to their smartphones. They live their lives on these phones. You can just walk down the street, especially around that time when schools are open, and all the kids are literally glued like that, and they're just crossing roads without even looking at where they're going. So I think the problem starts at the device level, and then we start building into the particular platforms and things that Maggie just alluded to there. So I think it's a whole encompassing sort of area on all of this. I'll stop talking while they're drilling, so I'll pass over to Evelyn.
Thank you, Andy. Evelyn, how about you in Kenya and your experience with young people?
I think just to add on to what Andrew and Maggie are saying, it's not just social media. I think just recently in my country, there has been an outcry of gambling, which now it's really getting out of hand. And that gambling is obviously coming, it's becoming too much because of a lot of unrest, because of unemployment. I think in Africa, Kenya is one of the countries that is privileged to have very affordable internet. So the internet access is really not a problem. Like everybody who has a data-enabled gadget can get onto the internet very quickly. So when people don't have much to do, then they start doing things that negatively impact them. We have even, in the issue of gambling, students eating their school fees or gambling into their school fees. And then once they lose that money, then it has to have a negative impact on them. Parents are actually selling property so that they can take children back to school. So actually the whole ecosystem is being affected by some of the things that are happening online. You find body shaming, especially with youth, teenagers as they grow. Of course, people grow differently. And once they get onto online spaces, then of course there is always banters. And I think Kenyans are actually known globally to be trolls online. Like, please never mess with a Kenyan on the internet. You will be trolled for days. And I think that culture is also really impacting people negatively. You will see, from our leaders to just anybody who would say a negative comment to be taken out of context, and then it becomes something so bad. And I feel our behavior as adults, how we are dealing with even our day-to-day lives, because the economy is really hurting everybody. Our policies are hurting everybody. I feel how we are dealing with our issues. Maybe we are using a lot of sarcasm. We're using a lot of banters to cope with our stress. Our children are actually picking up on those things, because you will find a child who is just going through a normal teenage misunderstanding. They really blow it out of proportion. They will bring in family, they'll start abusing each other. Things that were shared in confidence, sometimes through friends, then they start being aired online. And it's because we are also not teaching ourselves how to manage conflict outside social media or outside, platforms. We are just throwing it out there. Then I think once the digital footprint comes back to bite you, that's when we want to take cognizance of, oh, I did something that shouldn't really have been online, but unfortunately it's already online. So now you start having that negative backlash. We see it a lot, especially in my country. Towards election time, you just see people putting a lot of negative content out there because it had been posted some time back. And I feel like it has such a draining energy. I feel even at the moment with all that is happening with our mental well-being, everybody's working on eggshells. Like, I don't want to say something that will be misquoted, will be taken out of context, something that somebody will use against me. And I feel like now even it is affecting our freedoms to express ourselves the way we would want to, because, nuances. I don't want to call somebody white or black or tall or everything is now everybody working on eggshells. And I feel that is a negative impact towards what we are seeing as a result of online posting. Yeah.
Thank you so much. There's so many points that we can dissect in what you just said. I can say, me personally, I can't imagine, as you said, that you mentioned this trolling that happens for days, right? It doesn't go away. I mean, this is something we all have in common for sure across geographies, that people are carrying their phones, and you can't, it used to be, 30, 40 years ago when I was, that age, you could go home and the people weren't there, right? But this obviously it doesn't go away unless you actually physically put your phone in a different place. So it's, as you say, extremely intense. And, as an American, there's no secret about how much the American society is now splintered, especially regarding to politics. And I can see where you're coming from. You're really careful about what to say ever, right? Because this might come out, and then that could have a big impact on how you're seen. Just before we go back into, I want to go back to you choose the solution that Maggie created, confidence. Thank you for being here from Nigeria. Do you want to give your perspective about what's going on in your country in this sense? You're muted.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here. Good morning from here. Morning, everybody. So this is a timely conversation, and it's something we all need to talk about, because recently this whole mental health, and when it's associated with technology, social media, and people being online, I think talking from my own country, it has taken a new shape. And this shape it has taken, it's quite scary. I talked about this some days back. It's quite scary. and I have so many reservations about being on social platforms and its impact and its effect on us. I come from a country where there is something there's a way we handle our stress over here. We have been pushed so hard by our economy. We have been pushed so hard by the situation for our country that we're suffering and smiling. And as they tend to push through that blockage, they push through it, smiling, being happy, and you know they're actually dying inside. So we're always saying to ourselves, suffering and smiling. Even when you're being beat up by your leader, you're suffering and smiling. And this has been so woven into our system, into our nature, that we carry this nature of suffering and smiling onto our platforms. And how is social media making this even more? It's escalating it for us and affecting a lot of people, and a lot of people are not complaining. It's through this whole content creation. Every young person in my country is a content creator. They come online, they create content. Content they want people to watch and laugh and be happy. But underlying on this content, what we see is people who pick up just any news. Someone can wake up, for instance, and just come up that, confidence has 10 kids outside of marriage. I have a verification of that. And they bring up a document confirming it, putting my image, putting everything. And everybody runs onto this post. And people are actually confirming it when it is not even true. And the next day, this post continues as a thread. Everybody is on it. And the person who created this post is generating traffic on this post and making money, which is exactly what they are all looking for. Everybody is trying to make money. On social media, I don't want to call the names of this platform. It's not even making it easy. Every young person who is probably from a poor home or just wants to make themselves happy, or from a rich home trying to make more money, starts creating content. We all are creating content. Grandmas are creating content. Aunties, uncles, everybody. And most of this content are not founded. They are lies. Recently, somebody, a top celebrity in my country, had to arrest somebody who came up with a content that I don't even know the right word. It was so damaging of the person's personality, and there was no truth in it. But that content generated a lot of traffic. And obviously, the person who created it made so much money on that platform, to the detriment of the celebrity's state of mind, mental health, and the family. So I think we need to talk more about what people create online, the motive of creating it, and all these platforms paying you money. I am not against it. I'm not against those who create content and it's making money, but people need to be more conscious of what they do, why they do it. You can go online and create a creative content that gives you money but doesn't damage another person. So it's a whole new era here in this country. If you open our social media, people will troll you on a lie, that something that is not real, something that is not true. And the other person who is creating this thing is making a lot of money, buying good cars, buying everything. And the person who is being trolled is a step down into their graves, dying. Some people actually literally take their lives when they see such things and all that. So it's not, that's why I said this is a very timely conversation and all that. We need to talk about a mental well-being of people, relating it to social platforms, and how social platforms have created these things in such a way that people have to make money while creating content. And there is nothing kind of addressing how do we cope when people make content that are not true about all that, and still we are generating money, and still people are flooding this content and trolling people at the expense of people's well-being, mental well-being. So it's not looking all right over here. I personally sometimes look at these spaces and I wonder, what is this person going to be going through in their lives right now. When someone wakes up and says some things that are so wrong and that can break someone's family and life. So this is something we all have to like talk about, look and find a way or what to do to like curb all these excesses that people are doing, and social platform creators are doing in the name of making people stay on their platform and make money.
Thank you. That's actually a really good point about making money and things going live. Maggie, are you unmuted? Did you want to comment on that?
No, I was just listening to her, and I can totally see what she's referring to, because, everything is displayed online from such a young age. They are feeling like they have to keep up with the influencers themselves. I mean, this is not good. This is not the next generation that are leading into become adults. I don't think anything good can come off this, because what they're seeing on influencers is not real. It's not real life. And the concerning part for me was when my daughter at the time, she was about 14 or 15. That's how young she came, and she said, when I get to be 18, I'm going to get lip fillers. And then she started saying something about butt implants. And I'm like, what? Where are you getting this? And she was watching the Kardashians. I was furious. I was furious at the fact that this is not real people, like in the sense of, no one has to look like someone else. It's okay to look like yourself. You don't need plump lips, and you don't need surgery to be thinking about that when you're turning 18. I mean, this is the generation that we are allowing to be on these platforms, and they're discussing these things at such a young age. It absolutely is heartbreaking. Thank goodness my daughter's now 18, and she doesn't, like, I've built up enough confidence in her that she doesn't say those things. She's not watching the Kardashians since then. It's not a good thing that we're doing to our kids, and it's not even on purpose. It's just that they have so much control over their minds. But is it going to be too late by the time we do something if we don't do something now?
I think so too. And Andy, I see you have your hand up. I want to say that I was speaking to someone in Kenya the other day. I wasn't Evelyn, was saying, is it too late? Because there's this whole issue also with global North and global South. But Andy, go ahead.
No, thank you very much. And I just wanted to pick up on what everybody was saying here, especially Maggie there as well. And, yes, we all understand the issues that social media and, as I say, other platforms bring to all this, that is the purpose, social media, and it does exasperate a lot of this stuff. And we could talk about all of that, and I'm sure we will touch on it. But my point was, do we actually have to start looking and almost, I'm going to use the word control, might not be the right word here, these actual people who create the content? Yes, we can deal with the platforms, and yeah, the regulations are coming in and stuff. But what about these people who, as Maggie just alluded to, they're the people who are, say, promoting butt lifts, pardon my wording there, or lip fillers, do they realize what they're doing? Or, or other people who are creating content that is potentially harmful in various ways? Why are they doing it? I think it was Confidence talked about the money. Well, should these platforms, for instance, allow people who have created harmful content to even get money? If you've created something, you shouldn't be able to maybe get a like, or it shouldn't be able to generate any income. So maybe we need to start looking at these people who are, making this and sharing it. I saw one. Well, I see this quite a lot, actually, and we're going slightly off here. But There was one quite recently. I assume it would have gone viral. I can't remember which country it was. There was a youth. It was a male youth, but that's slightly irrelevant. He was in a shopping mall, and he threw a chair over the first floor of this shopping mall, and it was very close to hitting someone. Okay, now he did get arrested, he did get prosecuted, but obviously this was filmed for likes and this was shared online. And I'm not saying it's harmful per se, because that was technically illegal, but that can generate other people to do, I'm going to go and do something similar to get the likes and possibly get money out of it and stuff like that. So, should we be stopping, anything in that sort of way to be able to get shared and liked? Again, it's why are these people creating content? What is going through their mind to go to the next level to do this? So maybe we need to look at them as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with my YouTube's app that I created, I really wanted children to have the choice between right and wrong choices, because they're not using critical thinking skills. They have not developed that part of their brain to make the choice between right and wrong. So this is simple technology used right, works on any platform and also on search engines. Right. So if a child's about to type a message on Snapchat or any of the platforms, such as "you're a bitch," excuse my French, what I'm using, that's what they're saying online. It pops up a message in real time and it asks the question, are you sure you want to send this? And they have to make a choice between yes and no. If they select no, we have just taught one child the difference between making the right choice and that message never going across to the other party. But if they select yes, the other party will get a copy, but so does the parent of the child that sent it. And this is the missing key, which is communication between parent and child to provide resolution, understanding, and really communicating about how they were feeling at the moment and reflecting back on themselves, how they could have done things better. We have the ability as a parent to put in personal details. I mean, we have our own keywords we want flagged, which are over 300 keywords. But the beauty of it is a parent's able to put in personal details such as interests, hobbies, schools. And this is the point where if they're sharing that information, immediately you as a parent being alerted through the YouTube's app, you can know that there's the potential your child's speaking to someone new on any social media platform, and you can open those discussions as to who they're talking to, because that could be a potential groomer, grooming your child to find out the interests and the hobbies in their age. Even as parents, you're able to put in a couple of digits of a bank account or a credit card. And if they're sharing that information because of online spending being excessive, which they are because of influencers, again, you will know about it. Communication is the key, but giving them that choice to make at the beginning really does set them up for a better understanding on what is good and what's bad.
Thank you. I love that about the communication. If they say yes, then the parents get the information. That's really great. Evelyn, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I want to throw a spanner, that, in regards to what Andrew has said. I love that Madu is very optimistic. Very, very. And I love that. In an ideal situation, that would be amazing. I feel, and I'm speaking practically from my end, that what we are seeing right now happening in terms of value degradation, it is a mirror for us to look. Like, we are looking at ourselves, at the behaviors that we have being reflected through children. That's how I look at it. We have several incidences in my country where just recently, I think like maybe 2-3 weeks ago, There's something that happens within our school system where children go and present different plays, different skits and songs, way from the lowest levels, and the winners at the national level actually go and present to the president, their song, their skit, or whatever it is. However, in recent times, and I feel like in Africa, we just have this awakening, and social media is giving us voices to just speak our story. So what's happened in the recent past, a school was demonstrating the evil of politics in our country. And these are kids, 15, 16. Actually, there was nobody who was above the age of 16 in that particular school. They called their play The Echoes of War, just demonstrating what is going on in our countries at the moment. And the banter that it got from different stakeholders was really amazing. But when you look at the structure, you realize the thing was created by the Ministry of Education, which means government was involved. Teachers were adjudicating from the lowest level until it got to where it was, which means adults within the ecosystem of these children were involved. But it reached to a point where when it started becoming political and it started becoming a national conversation, then the politics of the day started taking offense to what was being said. Were they saying the wrong thing? Probably not. Did the people want to hear it? Most likely not. And I feel some of the things we are seeing right now, and I like what Maggie is saying. If a child was to create something, say on Roblox, I love how Roblox filters some of these words. When children are cussing, the words are bleeped. And it is good for the children to know, like when you're in these games and you're playing and people are using unfathomable words, you can actually report, block, all that stuff. That is a very small percentage, very, very small percentage. And I'll give an example again from my context in my country. We speak predominantly Swahili and English. What the youth have done, they've matched these two to create a third language that, believe you me, if somebody does not sit and translate for you what they're saying, you could be abused by your own children and you're laughing at yourself. And so now that there is this whole conversation of, if I say certain words on maybe TikTok, my video potentially can be pulled down. So what are they doing? They're flipping words. So it's the same banter. It's the same, because people are very frustrated. They want to still communicate, but they're like, this platform is not going to allow me to have the expression that I need, so I'm going to use a different language. Recently, a girl actually committed suicide because they went for a party somewhere, and the party had alcohol. These were underage girls. The party had alcohol. Unfortunately, the children consumed it. Then it became so wild, and they didn't know people were recording. So after she got out of this drunkenness, she found naked photos of herself, not on any social per se media platform, but they were on Telegram. So people were just taking snippets of what was acceptable on certain platforms like Instagram, TikTok. But if you want the full details, we call it T. Follow this, it takes you to the Telegram account. And Telegram, then it just gives you everything because it's an end-to-end encrypted platform. So I feel it is good for us to put platforms in check. And I don't think anywhere in the world we need more regulation because we really cannot keep regulating. But maybe we need the fabric reset of our values. Like, what are we valuing? Just as Andrew said, when somebody's creating this content, what is it for? So if we remove the money part of it, or we remove the, I want to be famous, then what? Because that fame is so short-lived. You will spend the money. We are not spring chickens anymore. So if I was a spring chicken 5 years ago, I cannot keep creating content the way I used to do it 5 years. That fame comes and goes. So I feel we need to critically just ask ourselves, once I create this content, how will it portray me 5-10 years from now? And I feel like that is, like, even in class, that is what we tell children. Like, if your grandmother was to see this, will they be happy with you? But if yourself, like when you become a parent and your child is watching the content that you created when you are a child, what will they take of you? What will they say of you? What moral authority then will you have to tell your children, you can't do this and this? And because they'll be like, yo, you used to do this when you were young. What are you telling me? So I feel there is much more, not regulation, but I think our values have really been corrupted. And I feel there's something we need a reset somewhere. And I don't know where, but we need a reset somewhere. Yeah.
There's one thing that you said that I want to get people's views on, and it's so important. And actually, every time I speak to a young person, they usually bring this up. It's like you guys are all kind of hypocrites, right? Because you aren't much better. I saw the videos of this play. I saw the videos of how upset those children were when basically they took away the audience and they arrested the director, and that was extremely, extremely. Wow, it was very powerful, right? And you explained
And
adults put them
imagine,
in the situation.
Angeline,
Yeah.
they used tear gas and live bullets where children were, like tear gas and live bullet. That was so uncalled for, even for law enforcement. Like police are there to maintain law and order. They used live bullets and they threw tear gas in a school bus school with children. That was really, I think for me, that was like, no, we can't get to this point. And I feel that agitation again, the agitation, and then they're like, next year we will still have an opportunity to do this same thing again. So are we going to still be treated like this, or are we still not supposed to talk about what we are seeing? They're learning this in school. So, I mean, yes, there's a lot of hypocrisy in there that
Yeah,
needs to be discussed.
yeah, it's very difficult, right? And for example, adults and parents, and this is something I'd like to get your views on, especially in terms of like the you choose, right? Because it's not just the kids, right? It's adults that are teaching and showing the example. And as an American, it's not the kids that are putting crazy conspiracy theories online. The all ages, right? So what are your thoughts on adults' preparedness to be able to hear and be challenged by the younger generation? How is it? Because I assume there's important cultural differences in that. Maybe we can start with confidence, if you don't mind, and then we can go Andy and Maggie.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Evelyn had pointed so many things I had in mind. But let me shift this back a little. When people, when as adults, we keep saying we should watch what we do so that our kids would not, if we are doing something wrong, our kids would not look at us and repeat the same things we are doing. I think we're going to keep saying this for like forever. How much do we even know as adults? How much do we even know as adults when it comes to technology and the social media platform? It's a couple of us who are really into these spaces that are that understand this thing or see it. Outside there, if I don't know, most of you must be talking. I don't know if you guys are also talking to parents. Like, well, from here, if you talk to a lot of parents, a lot of adults on anything that has to do with technology and social media, 80% have no clue. All they know is, there is a device. I'm making a call. I'm going to allow my young children to also have a device that is connected. They don't know anything. And that's why I've been saying it of recent more when I'm in spaces where I have parents and guardians and all that. Can we just, especially from the African context, there's a way I was raised as a child. The phrase, it takes a village, is an African phrase, right? An African proverb. Back then, as a young child, there were values homes had. There were rules and regulations you cannot break as a child. If you try breaking it as a child, it is not only your father, your mother, or your immediate aunt or uncle who will spank you. A neighbor 10 streets or 10 kindred away will spank you. But with the onset of technology, these values are all thrown away. We don't even talk about, as a young child, you have to listen when an adult is speaking. Now we are in that system where freedom of speech, speak. Even if you're wrong, it doesn't matter, which is okay. It's okay. But these are some of the things affecting how young people jump onto this free space called social media and technology using it to harm one another, both young and old. Our value system since technology came in have been broken. Personally, it has been broken. I, as an adult, can go in on any social platform and say anything and validate it by saying freedom of speech. And so is any young person. Um, um, she mentioned about Kim Kardashian. That is how I spent all my life or time watching those people. That is who they are. That is what they understand. That is how they were raised. That is how the system allows them to do anything. Nobody cobs them. Nobody tells them anything. So they come onto that platform and show what they believe in, what they love, what they know, and everything. And crying out loud, it's not in their brains or whoever it's resonating with them. It is not bad. So any young person watching them would do same. So what am I saying here in essence? If we are going to like have some sanity when it comes to technology, we need to bring back those family value system. We need to bring them and teach these children, teach these young people that there is no digital world. I complained somewhere that part of the problems we are having is how we coin this technology and digital environments. There is no digital world anywhere. It is one world and different parts of that world. Just like I have a home, a house, there's a room that is called my kitchen, there's a room that is called my restroom and everything, but it's still one house. And when we keep flying around the digital world, physical world, there's something stuck in the head of this kid. Oh, it's a space I can quickly transition to and get some stuff done. Nobody's watching it. There's no police online. There's no police online. So let's get back to the family system, the family values, those things we do or we say to our kids, or better still, those things our parents said to us that made us same humans that we are today. Let us sit down with these young people, talk to them and tell them that carry the same thing, these same values, values of kindness, values of empathy, just being a human, a good human, you carry it to the world, the digital world you find yourself. There is no difference. And that's why I tell my young people around me and all that. If in my house, you cannot abuse an adult, that is how the African system is. You cannot abuse an adult, but you have a polite way to tell an adult that they are doing wrong. That is even if it's possible. In the African system back then, I don't know, now we are in free world. You dare not talk when an adult is talking. It's wrong now, right? The children have a right and everything, but we could a bit tweak it and tell them that this is what we don't do. For the fact that there's a screen behind you, away from the other person, doesn't give you the right to talk or say anything anyhow to an adult. So the value system of homes and family is broken. Let's get back there and talk to ourselves about that. Then gradually bring in this whole technology, like Evelyn just said, regulating. How on earth do we even regulate what we don't know? I can't regulate what I don't understand. I can't regulate what I don't understand. So please, can we go back to those things that make you and I, as adults, makes us humans that can relate with each other. Sit our kids down, let them know these things, then usher in the technology part, emphasizing that there's no difference. The only difference is a screen and codes, 0101, logic and algorithm. You still have to be the same good human you are. So the values, family values, let's get back to it. And I had a publication recently, and I said in that publication, the home is the first place where we have to talk about online safety. It's the home, not the school, not the tech platforms. It starts from those kids we have, those nephews, those nieces who feel, oh, these adults, you people are still. Start talking to them about this thing. I can't even imagine my kid coming online to talk to any adult or even their mates anyhow because they are behind the screen. They dare not, because where I am from, I would spank them. And I'm sorry to say to anybody anywhere in the world, I would spank them. That was how I was raised. And it didn't kill me. I know a lot of people will hit against it. It didn't kill me. It made me who I am today. And I'm taking those beats regardless of wherever I am in this world, to raise my kids to be good humans, regardless of the fact that technology or anything. No, we're in one world, one physical world with different rooms. And the digital space, digital environment is one of those rooms. It doesn't separate us from this world. So let's work on that. I'm so sorry, but I'm so angered about the things happening online lately. Sometimes I often discuss with Angeli, that sometimes I come online, I get broken. I can't do anything. I'm either checking who is doing something and I feel so horrible. I've not done anything. Those are the things, those are the conversations we need to have with these young people, that you are who you are. My family, we have a value. There's a lifestyle we live. There is no way I can come online on this platform and anybody's, I don't know what people show everywhere, changes who I am. We need to talk about those things. When we talk about that, then it's a step or even 2 steps, having the right kind of people online. And we should also not forget that those who create these tech products are humans and they pour in their own values into their creation. Everybody creating something is creating a part of them, pouring it. So if a child that has been lonely all the days of their lives, but is now grown up or wants to create something, the child might end up creating something that will make a lot of people come to them. That is, attract a lot of legwork into their space. Might come up with that. So that product, all that product is concerned about is, people coming to that page to like that is that child creating their lived experience into that product. So what we have inside of us as humans is what we create. I don't know, I'm ranting, but this is it. Values, let's go back to the family values. And I trust that if you do that, things will shape them up at least to a large extent. Thank you.
Thank you, Confidence. I think a lot of people feel like you're very good at expressing what other people are feeling. I want to ask, then now turn around to how we can use tech to help actually solve this problem. Because I absolutely agree, and all of you feel free to disagree, that this would be kind of a universal issue that Confidence has described, that tech is kind of, there's this dichotomy between your offline world that is your culture and the online world, which is kind of this mixed culture of, who created it and who the content creators are, that the algorithm, and that is confusing for everyone, but I think especially for young people who are just finding their way. So how can we use technology to help? I'll just give like 2 examples that I'm a big fan of. Maggie's, I mean, yours, this wants to stop and, think and talk. There's another one, the excuse me, the table talk, it's called.
Yep.
I really like it. Yeah, this is where we use technology to give you ideas about how to sit down as a family again and actually talk about things. There's also Amika that I mentioned before, which you can send positive messages back and forth. So I think there are, ways that we can use technology, since we've got it with us all the time, to bring us closer together again. But it has to be intentional. Yeah. So I just wonder if we can focus on that. What can we do to try to turn this around? Because I do think awareness is increasing, and I do think that we do have a chance, especially if we talk, I would say, more internationally like we are now, and boost each other up. So what are your thoughts on that? Whoever wants to jump in.
Well, I'll go first, as long as this drilling calms down. I just wanted to say that, I mean, firstly, I love the passion that everybody's got in the group, and we're all coming from slightly different areas. Whether it's technical development, such as Maggie's thing, and the passion and the advocacy that Confidence and Evelyn have, and everybody else. I mean, at the end of the day, for me, we've got to realise as well that tech is here to stay. We're not suddenly going to lose it. And in fact, it's only going to advance and increase. We've talked about this recently. So we have to accept it, basically. And as is being alluded to, it is a society as well. We have the online and the offline societies and the overlapping and the crossing. So we have to look at it from a very wide societal approach. I know there's a lot of people who are going down the blame game route in particular point, but we have to look at it across the entire landscape. Everybody plays a part in this. You know, the youngsters themselves play a part, parents play a part, adults play a part, and then it goes on all the way. You know, the platforms, law enforcement, NGOs, stakeholders, educate. Everybody plays a part in it in some way, and we all have to, as I say, come together to find the best ways. And there might be some discussions in that we're not going to agree with for various reasons, and we have to find that middle ground to maybe agree to disagree, which is actually a lot harder than it seems. But certainly, you know, certainly about the You Choose app, and I'd like to ask Maggie a couple of points here. Firstly, you know, it's brilliant, isn't it? You know, if parents are going to utilize it, that's fantastic, but we know some parents aren't going to do it because they just can't be bothered. But I'm also intrigued whether, and certainly in Australia, because they're talking, well, they have implemented the social media ban here. What do you think about if any child was given a device under the age of 16, it had to be synced to their parents' device? By law, it had to be.
Yeah.
You know, because can you imagine if a 16-year-old said, yeah, here's a smartphone, you know, but they knew their parents were going to see everything. I wonder how much of a reduction, how much of a thing that would happen. So what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I can tell you here in Australia that the parents over here, I don't want to be helicopter parents. So we've got parental control apps out there that monitor or try to monitor everything and everything. The Aussies here are not going to go for that. One, it's too intrusive. Two, there needs to be a balance. Now, when we created this, we wanted that balance. One, for the parents to be happy at the fact that they're not too intrusive, and two, for the children to be safe and to be communicating safely. We found that. As far as like the actual to adopt it by parents, that is the hurdle that we've been having this whole time. I'm sorry to say, but I mean, there is great parents that think like me, and they're the ones that I'm trying to reach out to the most, because directly to parents going, yes, I want to be involved, you know, and be there for them when they say the wrong things, give them a second chance, all those things. But then we have the parents are like, oh, my child doesn't want it. And they're telling me their child doesn't want it. We here, in some of the cases, have forgotten that we're the parents and they're the children. And we're stopping to put in the boundaries. And what we're saying with You Choose is, I'm giving you a phone. Let's say it's a hand-me-down. Let's say it's a Christmas present, whatever the case may be. I'm guiding you by installing this, not as a way to monitor you, but a way to show you the right directions, like your little guardian angel on your shoulder, nudging you. If in case you're going to go down this path, or are you going to go down this path, I want you to think before you actually send it. Know that it's going to come over to me and we're going to talk about it. When the parents are presented with this option, they've got to be accountable. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the pushback that we're getting. I personally have sent letters to the Communications Minister of Australia going, help me, because where it's at is amazing, but we could do this like next level together. Generic responses from our own ministers over here in government. I reached out to our Department of Education for Australia. Sorry, you're not government. We can't support you. Then e-safety. I've had 3 meetings with them, and the preventions team were like, Maggie, do you realize that this is amazing? Like, could we license this? And no, just having a general discussion that they were going to build upon it from where it's at with certain features. We'll have another meeting. Generic letter, your business, we can't support you. Now, there's all this talk in Australia or from Australia overseas going, we are leading the way with these bans. No, we're not. right? These bans are just going to be a band-aid to say that we're doing something. We're not actually doing anything except getting kids on other platforms. And we're going to be right where we started, because the focus is on Meta, on Snapchat. I mean, all these big names at the moment, but tomorrow they're not going to be the big one. There could be another one, which is XYZ app comes out and all the kids are flocking on there and they're doing something, right? And when I met with Roblox in Canberra last year with Neil Milton, they said, what's the solution? And I said, you need a third-party interceptor, such as you choose, that's impartial to you, that is made by parents, for parents, to be that bridging block between all platforms. And, you know, that was the meeting. There were professionals in the room and everything. We left. A few months later, Roblox had implemented their own parental control systems. And then you hear Meta had implemented their own control systems. All these platforms supposedly doing all these things. But guess what? They're doing nothing, because at the end of the day, it's very hard for parents to navigate. What do I do on this platform? What do I do on that platform? Have I done it right? Is there a new feature? I mean, really, there's so many. Can we keep up? Of course we can't. And they know it. But here's our solution, just to present to the world, the same as our own government.
Thank you. I mean, that's a good point. I like that you said that about Australia leading the way, but then there's a lot of holes in the argument about how they lead the way, because people really need to be aware, and that's what I think it's so important, that sharing internationally what is actually happening behind the headlines, right? Yeah, so unfortunately we're out of time, because this is such an interesting discussion. I do want to maybe close with the question. I just want to ask confidence, and Evelyn, do you feel like you're in societies that there's some kind of solution, maybe African specific, or are you that far that you're trying to increase the conversations, or how is that? Just really quickly in closing, because and are there obstacles to taking over the solutions, as much as we've taken over the technology that is like kind of a part of the problem that's causing? So maybe Evelyn, we can start with you.
I feel like we walk 5 steps forward and then we go back a mile. In my country specifically, when young people are trying to leverage on technology, and this is leveraging on both ends. When we are progressing in terms of creating software, learning, and creating awareness and doing amazing things, because we are very agile and we're very creative human beings as a country. When something doesn't work for the political class, they start, I feel like they're the ones who would come with statements like, we need to shut down the internet. And then they take us back to those crazy days of just being very angry. Just yesterday, our Minister of ICT said something very funny, and the whole of our Twitter space yesterday and today is busy on his banter. Everybody's just, abusing him. We forget about our digital footprint. We forget about, the progress that we've made as a country. For instance, in the continent, in Kenya, as from the continent perspective, we have very affordable, accessible internet, which means we are connected with so many people doing amazing things. Our systems are online. Our government systems are, I can pay for my almost everything that is government related on my phone from the system. So we have such good technology. I feel like we are so progressive in very many avenues. But when it comes to something that is agitating the public, and it could be a very small thing, we are taken back like 10 steps backwards. So I feel we are progressive, we are not progressive. I also feel, and this is to Maggie, because I studied in Australia. The rest of the world, Kenya included, we are waiting to see how that implementation of, smartphones and social media under the age of 16 happens. Everybody is waiting to just see how it's feasible. And then, of course, the problem with Africa will be we will just borrow everything that the rest of the world has done, similar to the GDPR. Our law in Kenya, the Data Protection Act, it was a replica, like complete replica. And some things work, some things don't work because of context, of course. And so, yes, there is progress and then there's no progress. So we're just there torn in between. The people who want to move with certain things, they will move with certain things. And I feel like even as a continent, I'll sit here with patience and like I will say, I feel bad for patience because confidence, sorry. I feel bad for confidence because maybe her country is not as progressive as Kenya. And then I'll be like, oh, no, at least we are not Nigeria. At least we are not Ghana, you know? She could sit and say something that are happening in her country are a little bit more progressive than ours. So I think we are comparing ourselves from the bottom, not in things that make sense. But in a good space, we are really pushing, especially the Ministry of Education, because if a child is not spending time at home, they're spending bulk of it in school. So if we can get especially our educators really to embrace that responsibility of online safety, to push it in the community, but from the school perspective, that is really giving us a lot of headway. We are really trying not to get any more legislation because, to be honest, we are over legislated, we are over regulated. But bringing those values back home, so that when we are doing it at home, where the kids are spending a lot of their time, it's also being inculcated, manners, discipline, and all this kind of stuff, so that we are not just fighting a losing battle. Because, to be honest, parents are really overwhelmed with trying to make ends meet. However, then we can't do everything at the same time. So if we could have different people in the society who are within the ecosystem helping, that is really good. I would want to see, finally, people who have been, arrested, serving time on things that they have done, injustices to children. I don't think we see that. We make a lot of noise and then we leave it at noise. Once we have made somebody trend, we leave it at that. And I think our children take the cue of, but that person did something wrong. Why are they trending? Why are we making them famous, right? Sometimes when children below the age of 13 commit certain crimes, platforms will come and say, but your child is under 13. They were not supposed to be on our platform. And they take away their responsibility, despite the fact that maybe the platform, it helped, to push a certain crime, to push a certain agenda. Then if it didn't happen in school, for instance, the school will say, I know this is our student. It didn't happen in school. Then the parent is left there wondering, okay, so what do you want me to do? I can't throw away my child. Then we wait for the next crisis. When the next crisis comes, we forget what happened and we move on swiftly. So I feel we have a place to start, or we have a place to continue, but there's a lot of borrowing, but the ecosystem really has to pull. As Andrew said, everybody has a role to play. So if we all understand this is the best interest of the child, this is where we want to go, then everybody can pull their weight. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Thank you. Confidence. I don't know what's with the close from your specific area. And then Andy, I'll let you close the meeting afterwards.
All right, thank you. Thank you for this very focused session. So on my own end, when it comes to technology, Nigeria is doing a lot. We are really, really doing a lot and everything. But we are consumers. We are consuming technology. It's being imported and we are taking it in. We are taking it in and all that. Doing this, a lot of us are also working in silos. We are working individually. And I think if we're really going to have a wholesome solution to the issues of technology, social media platforms, and all that, as well as our health, our wellness digitally, we all have to come together to work, and not certain people in one space doing it all alone while others are somewhere else. So we need to come together more to work to address all the ills that comes with using technology and being on social platforms. Talking about frameworks and laws, we have a lot. We have a lot littered everywhere. With no concrete implementation. So that needs to tighten up as well. Basically, everybody has to come together. I think Andrew has pieced it all. Everybody has a role. We are all playing in this whole thing. We need each and every one of us to move forward when it comes to this whole technology and social platforms. So basically, let's all work together. So the how did you say it? The more the merrier. So in the case of technology, the more everybody brings in their little bits of understanding, piece it together, I think it will be less of talk, more of offering solutions. So from Africa, from Nigeria, let's work together, get a lasting solution for this whole talk, and we talk less.
Thank you. Andy, I'll give the honors to you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. So obviously, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being on this call today. As I say, we're all coming from things in slightly different ways, but we all believe and we're passionate about what we do. Everybody's doing fantastic stuff. And I just wanted to touch on what Confidence was just saying there. And everybody knows that this is something I strongly believe in. The internet, for a better word, the internet, open web, whatever we want to call it, is a global connected system. And that means for us to fight it or to tackle it, we have to be globally connected. And, there's no time for silos, as mentioned. There's no time for egos. There's no time for little empires. The world is a big place. The issues are global. There are so many fantastic people doing amazing things with so much experience doing stuff. Again, this is where we have to come together to learn, to share, discuss, to find out who's doing what. Just because, say, I'm sitting in the UK, doesn't mean someone, let's say Maggie in Australia, has suddenly come up with this amazing, I know you have, Maggie, but you've come up with an amazing solution that the UK might not have. So, this is where it's all about learning and sharing and getting rid of these, egos that, that, oh my God, somebody in Australia's come up with it. Well, we can't take their work. We'll have to devise something brand new in the UK. There's amazing stuff going on all around the world. And this is where, we all have to come together. We all have to share things like this where we can have a conversation and talk about the issues. And that's what's vitally important. And we, as I say, we have to accept tech is here to stay. It's going to advance. Social media is here to stay. It's going to advance. So let's try and find the ways to deal with the issues across the society, whether that's in the home, in the schools, in the companies, in the businesses, in the platforms, in law enforcement, whatever. But we need to start having a real good deep dive into what's not working or how we can improve. Are we going to fix it? If I'm brutally honest, no. That's just society. But we can reduce it. And that's what we need to do, because I'm sorry, over the past 20 years, that since certainly smartphones have been in existence and everything's exacerbated since then, everything's got worse. So something is not working. So let's change the talk, as just said, enough talk. Let's start seeing action across all of this. Some of it's going to be challenging conversations. Some of it might not even work, but until we talk about it openly and honestly, that's the only way we can do it. So I just want to say thank you to everybody on this call for doing everything they can, the passion and the dedication. Everybody who's listening, everybody who's watched it, we're all in it together. Keep up the great work. And thank you for putting this together, Angeline.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to collaborating further. Contact us if you want to join us. Thanks to all of you. Have a good evening or day, depending on where you are.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.